I have an idea I kind of want to defend here for the next few minutes. The sub $1,000 watch market in 2026 is the most interesting price tier in the entire hobby. More interesting than the $5,000 tier, which is mostly the same watches it's been for the last, 5 to 10 years with new dial colors. More interesting than the $20,000 tier, which is almost entirely about the brand name and the finishing on the movement itself, or it's ultra luxury and stuff that most of us are never going to be able to buy within our lifetimes. I also think it's more interesting than the $300 tier, where the specs are genuinely good, but I think there's some limitations, things you're not spending money on that you start to actually get as you move up into this range. I kind of want to prove it, and I want to go through 5 different watches that I think are specifically the ones I would recommend within this price tier. But before we get to these 5 watches, there are 3 reasons up front I think that the $1,000 price range is the best price range. First, the specs floor I think has collapsed. In 2015, a sapphire crystal and a sub $1,000 watch was a premium feature. Now it's kind of baseline. Even a decade ago, the 70 to 80 hour power reserve was like true interest. Like it wasn't a normal thing within a normal watch. But now Tissot, Hamilton have them in watches that are easily within this price range at retail, which means obviously if you buy it secondhand or you get a discount at your AD, it's even better. Ceramic bezels, micro adjust clasps, genuine in-house adjacent movements, all that's migrated down into the sub $1,000 bracket of all these watches that we have today, which makes me wonder, in 2 decades, when people buy a pre-owned watch that was like for us back in the 90s or early 2000s, those watches don't hold up like they do today compared to modern watches. But how in a couple decades will these $1,000 watches not still be great buys because of how advanced watchmaking has really gotten these days? You can find titanium watches like the Citizen Zenshin I've covered multiple times. I absolutely love these watches because they're just such a great, cool value. You've got a beautiful aesthetic with an interesting texture and a dial, nice applied indices, good polishing on the case. It's titanium and it has a case hardening coating on the outside so that you get something that's more scratch resistant. Really, really, really nice package in that sub $1,000 bracket. So a lot of cool things there. You've got Seiko that's brought back the entire SKX 007 style with the whole SSK line and all the other lines that are around that, still within this area. These are not the watches that I want to mention as the 5 that I really love within this price segment, but it shows you what's out there. You have Seiko with something like the Turtle here, with a ceramic bezel insert, nice textured dial from a name brand with a day-date function, nice 4 o'clock crown, interesting case architecture, rubber strap that's actually flexible and wearable and makes this whole thing, this whole package really come together. Again, great stuff in this price segment. And then third, obviously, the ownership experience is disproportionately good. When you spend $900 on a watch, you wear it. When you spend $9,000 on a watch, you start to worry about it. And myself included, I own a lot of different watches that are expensive. I have a sickness, but I still wear them and worry just a little bit more than if I'm wearing something like these watches here, where they're in that sub $1,000 range. They hurt. Don't get me wrong, it still hurts, but it has a lot less anxiety because they're all about the usability, the functionality of the watch, actually telling the time more than the glitz and glamour of some of the more expensive watches or the brand name on some of the other watches. Now, before I get into my 5 favorite ones, let me first mention this video is sponsored by Bellroy. Now, Bellroy was nice enough to send the Transit Work Pack 20 liter that I have right here. Much like watches, this company's all about buy once, cry once. Bellroy is an Australian design company out of Melbourne. They were founded in 2010. They've been making some of the most thoughtful carry goods in the business ever since. And the leather they use comes exclusively from Leather Working Group gold rated tanneries, which is the highest environmental standard in the industry. They sent me 2 things and I've been using both here for the last few weeks. This Transit Work Pack 20 liters, I've been using primarily to carry around any of my watch goods as well as carrying around the watches themselves. I'll put them in a case and then I'll drop it inside. I'll often keep my laptop here in the back side where they have this nice little pocket here that's nice and padded so I don't have any issues of the laptop getting scratched up. The pocket up here in the top has this nice little knit section and this little internal pockets where I carry most of my memory cards. Now the second is the Bellroy Hide and Seek LO in black. This is a slim bifold wallet with a hidden storage flap in the back here where you can store extra bills if you want to, RFID protection, quick 4-access slots for cards. This thing is fantastic to be able to grab what I need. Not to mention you have this small little pocket here if you want to store other cards, and a backside where they're a little bit more hidden. And you have this little segment right here, which is kind of like a coin purse for small little coins. You can place them in here instead of letting them rattle around your pocket. Now, if you want to try either of these, scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description. You'll receive 10% off your order. It's an exclusive offer for viewers of this channel. Tag @Bellroy Official if you pick something up. But buy once, cry once is always the philosophy that I use with watches, and it's the same thing I would say about any of your everyday carry stuff. Okay, now, it's a 6-watch box, but 5 slots, 5 watches, all of them right around $1,000. Slot 1 has to go to one of my favorite watches that's in this price range, and that's the Tissot PRX Powermatic 80 in titanium and 38 millimeters. This is a $975 watch with 80-hour power reserve in full titanium construction that completely disappears on the wrist, waffle textured dial that catches the light without being showy, integrated bracelet here with bevel finishing, I think that punches well above its price range. This is the watch I reach for when I want to forget that I'm wearing a watch. It's dressy enough for dinner, it's casual enough for Saturday, it fits under any cuff. It's a watch I've been picking up more than a lot of the other watches in my collection, and that typically means that I like it quite a bit. It isn't often that I buy a new watch and it starts to knock off some of the ones that I love to wear day to day. It's a beautiful package. It may not be the most, heavy watch in the world, but once you put it on your wrist and it just feel the fact that it disappears, I guarantee you will really start to reconsider whether or not you need one of these in your collection. Perfect sizing for my 6 3/4 inch wrist. Absolutely love the Tissot PRX. I've been talking about it a lot in a lot of these different videos because I truly do like it so much, and I've been recommending it to almost everyone that I run into. So that would be definitely my first in this price range you guys should take a look at. The second one is probably the most popular watch in this price segment for Hamilton, and that is their 38 millimeter Murf version right here. This thing is $995 on a leather strap or $1045 on a steel bracelet. So the bracelet version just barely tips over the $1,000 line, but the leather version stays under $1,000. This has inside it the H10 movement, which is the same family of movements, essentially the same as the Tissot PRX that you have right here. 80-hour power reserve. This is also 38 millimeters, but you're gonna have a little bit larger dial size rather than case size, so it's gonna wear a little larger on the wrist. Nice cultural reference back to Interstellar if you're really into movies, or Christopher Nolan. Gives you a little bit of that aesthetic, not to mention you have all that field watch legibility built in here. Little bit of faux tina, but you get an incredibly legible, readable, great watch with a nice little polished bezel on the outside. If you're looking for a field watch and you're convinced you want to get something from Hamilton, this is one of the best watches you can get for it. Best thing about Hamilton has to be their wearability in this price range. It just sits so flat and snug down on the wrist. It hugs everything. It feels right. But this does go to show that 38 millimeters is a wide range in terms of wearability. You get something like this, Hamilton Khaki Murf, and it's going to fit a certain way. But next to the PRX, it looks much larger, but they both measure the exact same. So it's important to keep track of what looks good on your wrist and what you like to wear, rather than just what the spec sheet says. Slot 3 is a watch that I'm really enjoying right now, and that is the Seiko Baby Alpinist, or the SPB 155. This thing has 200 meters of water resistance, curved sapphire crystal, also 38 millimeter case. You'll notice I have a preference here. It loses the compass bezel and downsizes as a result, but I find that it becomes increasingly more legible because it gets rid of some of the gilt and some of the compass features of the SPB 121. That being said, I do know a lot of people are partial to the SPB 121, so it makes sense if you're really looking at the original or the OG Alpinist, then I would understand why you would buy something like this variant right here. But the SPB 155 is incredible. I highly recommend either one of these. They both come in at under the $1,000 price range. So either one, I think they're relatively, if not the exact same price, relatively the same price. My preference is for the Baby Alpinist, but I could understand why someone would pick the alternative because of that gilt applied indices, and that internal compass is a cool feature, even if you are never going to use it. So either one of these, 200 meters on a field watch is just very unheard of, with a date complication from a name brand. Great history behind the Alpinist, so both of these make great watches in this price range. And I put both in here because I do have a 6-watch box, so I do need to fill it. Slot 4, I'd start to look at micro brands, and I think that the Baltic Aquascaphe Mark II here at $684 on the rubber, $790 on the beads of rice bracelet, just introduces a whole case design and dial design that made Baltic what it is today. It's an incredibly popular brand, primarily because of the success of this model right here. And that's due to the fact that it has such a great vintage aesthetic to it, nice bezel action for its price range. I would put this up there with a lot of the other bezel actions that you find out of brands that are sometimes double this price range. You're gonna pay a little less than $1,000 than you do for the other ones. Your only downside is gonna be a little bit of sharpness on some of the areas of the case here, but you're gonna get drilled lugs. You're gonna get nice sleek lug architecture here, a signed crown, nice bezel action, big domed sapphire crystal here. So you get a little bit of that vintage flavor, good lume, applied indices, incredibly legible, beautifully done. This is design first sort of watch rather than, you know, around the name brand. They really focused here on a design that I think was going to be a big win for them. It certainly was. And I really like it on this rubber strap. It's incredibly flexible, wears great on the wrist. This is a 39mm case, so you're gonna find that, again, it makes great sense on most wrists, including mine at 6 3/4. Just looks great. You get a nice reflection there when the light reflects off the dial. Beautiful watch, love the Aquascaphe, and again, highlights why the $1,000 price range is so strong. Now for slot 5, I want to do a chronograph because we don't have that. We have a dress watch, we have a field watch, we have an explorer style watch, which is kind of like the Hamilton, but a different aesthetic or a different take, a little bit more flashy. We have a diver. I think within this price range, one of the most popular options and one of the best options out there has to be the Seiko Speedtimer or the SSC 961. This is the current version of their Seiko Speedtimer. They just discontinued the prior one and brought out this one, so it is fresh and barely different. You do get a quartz movement on the inside here. You obviously are going to get a chronograph from a great name brand, just like you do with the Alpinist. This is a Pro Specs model, so you're going to have something that's water resistant to 100 meters, which gives you a lot of range. It's a 39mm watch. I just swapped it onto this Artem strap here with this nice light blue, so you get a little bit more contrast. Beautiful aesthetic to this watch. Obviously, most people are buying this because of the wearability, the fact that it comes from Seiko, so you've got a lot of the great reliability that comes with that, and the fact that it looks so darn good for its price range, around $760 at retail for this watch right here. And you typically can find it a little less secondhand, or you can probably get a discount from your AD. Very popular watch, definitely one of, if not the most popular watch by Seiko right now. Without me being the one that sells them, I don't know exactly if it is the most popular, but beautiful aesthetic, fits my wrist perfectly. This thing is all about wearability and design, and I think it definitely nails both of those things. Highly recommend the Seiko Speedtimer if you're out there looking in the same price range. Just a beautiful, cool looking watch that gives all of the feeling of a chronograph that is, you know, $10,000, $12,000, but for a lot less money. So you still get the same aesthetic, the same wearability that you would get out of some of those other more expensive watches. So these are the 5/6 watches that I wanted to outline to cover every context of life. You could build an entire collection out of just this, and the whole box, every single one of these is less than $1,000 or right around that $1,000 mark, and all of them are popular for a reason. Some of these are the most popular by their brand, again, for a reason. And you have in the whole collection here spent less than one mid-tier Swiss watch. That is what the best part is of the $1,000 price range. You have titanium, you have dress, you have integrated sports watch, you have a chronograph, you have a dive watch that has a unique, cool vintage flavor to it. You've got a lot of heritage and history in each of these watches. A lot of really cool stuff here. And this is why the $1,000 price range just rocks. What do you guys think about these watches? Any recommendations in that price range? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.